Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you for having this space. I was talking to the Flame the other night, and I said, "Gee, Flame, I just feel like an old tarnished lamp." And he said, "Don't worry, the lamp and the flame are one and the same. Just don't let the flame go out, otherwise you'll be a tarnished old lamp in the dark." Oh, the burning embers of the soul, for so long buried in the ash of time, are now brought to a brilliant blaze under the lover's constant gaze of attention. And this loving passion is the alchemist's tool that will distill the light out from this tarnished lamp tonight. So I just did that as an introduction to demonstrate the power of the love and the power of the gaze. And it comes into this poem. You'll maybe hear it. It's not quite as explicit. But this poem is called "The Milky Way Was Just a Welcoming Mat." And the subtext is one woman's transformation. He followed her around all day, quietly, like a dog in heat just waiting for an opportunity to lay. Finally, night came and they in bed, words unsaid. His breathing was loud and clear, the pounding of his heart echoed in her ear. There was no foreplay, no touche, there was no thunder, there was no lightning. It was frighteningly boring, and he was already snoring. She sat up, drawing on a cigarette, and she watched the smoke dance through the moonlit halls of her naked, lonely walls. Picking up a magazine and thumbing through its pages, she came to books for sale, and there it was, The Trigger and the Gun. She did not know it, but she had waited for this moment all her life. The multi-orgasmic male? Yeah, right, oh right, looking at her partner and counting 10 to 1, but who was counting anymore? And that's when it hit her. The advertisers, they weren't selling, they were buying our time and buying our minds, and she had sold everything to the national advertiser's dream. Oh, she was mad. She pulled up her pants and down the rag in her convertible. Automatic reaction, on with the radio. It was Ricky Martin. Ah, get out of my head! The radio went dead. She drove down to 101. Silent tears were streaming. Emptiness was her companion. She stopped on a cliff overlooking Half Moon Bay, and she noticed that there was an abandoned church just across the way. And she wondered, had God abandoned us, or had we abandoned God? And she sat transfixed, focusing on the steeple's apex. Yet within her heart burned and yearned with a madness to know. She fell into a trance, and soon her spirit drifted up from her forehead, yet tethered by a long thin silver cord, skyward she soared. Oh, the Milky Way was just the welcoming mat for those rare and lucky souls who found the secret passage out of the dark tower of blood and bone. She never left that church, and the townsfolk all talked about the woman who had gone mad, and they were right, for she had fallen madly in love with the Lord of souls. But they could never explain the bright lights at night or the scent of jasmine in winter. And every summer the garden would bloom rich and sweet, and children like mischievous gnomes would come sneaking out from their tents to raid the fruit. And she smiled knowingly, for it was for them. A generation later, their children would sit around with the silver-haired gardener with light in her eyes, listening to tales. I have to find an answer here, the end to it, sorry. Don't have it quite all memorized. Telling stories of magic and adventure, and she taught them how to fly the spirit kite with the silver cord, and she taught them the madness of love has cosmic rewards. She taught them how to disengage their soul from the tentacles of physical matter, that we did not have to be held hostages to a gangster nation, or pawns to the drug lords, or serfs or slaves or servants to the industrial commercial landlords, who were expropriating our labor and our land, our resources, our very spirits and our souls. She taught that we could be like St. John from Revelations, releasing ourselves from our physical temptations. We would release ourselves from our physical limitations, and we could rise up into the spiritual landscape and drink from the sacred chalice of the heart, and then come back down and share those stories around. She taught that we did not have to die old and feeble, facing an onslaught of hideous crippling diseases, but that we could grow old gracefully, strong in the spirit. The advertiser's dream finally died in that town, replaced by a more noble one. So come on and uncoil your silver cord and let your spirits fly, for the master kite maker is waiting, sitting high upon the cliff of the Milky Way, waiting to give you lessons in the madness of love. And soon there was a flight of souls, and the wounded earth began to mend with an abundance of lush, fragrant forests and fields of wildflowers, and the joyous laughter of children like the bells of heaven once again filled the air. Thank you very much.